Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for our 2024 annual general meeting for Defeat Duchenne Canada. This is my first AGM as the board chair of Defeat Duchenne and Lisa McCoy's first AGM as our chief executive officer. So we welcome you all for coming. I'm Brian Atkinson. I am the board chair and very happy to work with this great organization on a very important cause. So before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to talk about. So first, those who are joined us in person, thank you for coming. We also have a number of people attending online. Important to note that for this evening, we have an hour for our agenda, so we won't be fielding any questions. But if you have any questions afterwards, you can feel free to email your request to info@defeatduchenne.ca, and a member of our team will have no problem getting back to you as soon as possible, asking you to respond to your question. If you have any technical difficulties for those online this evening, you can also email info@defeatduchenne.ca, and we'll do our best to help you out so you can stay connected to us. The bathrooms are just outside to the left of the door here. We have a compelling agenda this evening, which is a combination of all the work of the team, the volunteers, and our great board of directors over this last year. And to get us started, please join me in welcoming Lisa McCoy, our Chief Executive Officer, to share opening remarks and our good agenda for tonight. Thank you. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Brian, and welcome everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here with all of you. I have had a whirlwind of a start to my time as CEO with the organization in every good way possible. So it's my pleasure to be here. I want to thank all of you for joining us, as Brian mentioned, those who were able to join us in person, and certainly the many of you who have taken time to join us this evening across Canada. As Brian mentioned, I am the Chief Executive Officer, and I look forward to spending the next hour with you reflecting on our accomplishments from 2023 and talking about the incredible work and momentum that's being built and that we look forward to accomplishing in the coming year and the years ahead. So on that note, we'll take a look at the agenda. So we're going to kick off this evening with a story from just one of our many inspirational Duchenne families. We're going to hear the highlights from our 2023 year. We're going to receive a report of our audited financials from our auditors at KPMG. And then we will officially launch and share highlights from our 2024 to 2028 strategic plan. And finally, we'll take a moment to acknowledge some departing staff. So let me start, though, by introducing our 2023 board of directors. Without the support of these dedicated and visionary volunteers, we could not achieve a future without Duchenne. I am very proud to work in collaboration with these outstanding leadership volunteers every day. These folks are responsible for steering our ship, for overseeing the strategic direction of the organization, and for ensuring that it operates in a financially sustainable manner, and providing oversight and guidance to our small but mighty staff team. They really are the backbone of the organization, and their contributions are truly essential to our success. So thank you to our 2023 board of directors, our officers, Brian Atkinson, board treasurer, Richard Beattie, Nikki Kenny, our board secretary, Dale Cheeseman, who serves as the chair of our investment committee, in addition to being one of our directors, Tom Capelli, Frank DeRosier, Ted Lindsay, Dr. Hans Lochmuller, Natalie Rumscheit, Doyle Steinke, Ken Wilson, Reverend Kevin George, and Dr. Lisa Hoffman, who also serves as the chair of our Research Funding Advisory Committee. And of course, our honorary board member, who we're very pleased to have with us, John Davidson. Two of our 2023 board members will be departing this year. At this time, I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge their contributions. Ken Wilson has been a dedicated volunteer since 2017. Throughout the past 7 years, he served as both a board member and been an expert contributor to our marketing and communications committee. Among Ken's many contributions is that he played a key role in supporting the shift in branding from Jesse's Journey to Defeat Duchenne Canada, which many of you know wrapped up in 2022. This was a monumental task that was made easier thanks to Ken's tireless efforts and expertise. He's always been willing to lend a hand in any way possible and has always been a true asset to the team. So thank you, Ken, again, for your outstanding and lasting contributions to our organization. We wish you all the best as you begin the next chapter. Next is Reverend Kevin George, who's also been a very strong supporter of Defeat Duchenne Canada for the past few years. He's been a strong supporter of our walk, and he's contributed in his role as director. Among other things, his skills include steering the committee in a way that is a guiding compass for the board. And clearly his skills have been recognized in his work because he was appointed the Dean and Rector of the Cathedral Church of St. Paul late last year, and he started in that role in January of 2024. So as you can imagine, this important work requires a great deal of time and focus. So Reverend George has decided to step away from the board for that reason. But we are confident he will continue to make enormous contributions to his parishioners and to the community at large. And since his church shares a parking lot with the Defeat Duchenne Canada offices in London, we hope to run into him from time to time and to be able to stay in touch. So thank you so much and best of luck, Reverend George. So here is the slate of officers for 2024. This board of directors was approved at the board meeting that took place just prior to our AGM this evening. You can see many of our board members are returning, so thank you all again for your dedication and the skills you bring to our table. So just before we go any further, let's just take a moment to hear from one of the hundreds of Duchenne families that inspires all of us to do the work we do every day. Our families are at the center of all we do. We thank you, and we will always stand by you and support you in every way we can. This year, in some of our campaigns, we featured the Maldonado family and their boy, Mateo.
Yeah, Mateo is now 7 years old. He's very active and Duchenne, energetic kind of way, what a boy with Duchenne can do, right? He's very artistic. He likes to draw and coloring.
He has a lot of talents, for drawing and just copying pictures that he sees. So it's kind of surprising with the Duchenne condition. So we're proud of him about that. I was doing karate classes with him, and it was 2 years and 3/4, but he was not able to jump or do high kicks. So I was like, okay, maybe it's the orthosis, for his heel or blah blah blah. So that was the first lights that we that we had. But from as a father, I was like, no, it's impossible. So I was just like kind of pushing the reality and the fact that there was something straight into my face.
And then at one point he fell off at the daycare and he broke his
tibia.
So
the toddler's break. So
it was at that time, and then he had the cast and everything for several weeks, and we started notice that probably he needed therapy because he was kind of not walking properly.
Wobbly.
But we thought it was because of that he needed therapy because he just had a fracture, right? From the beginning, we knew something was wrong because it was the pandemic. So basically, they weren't accepting 2 parents in one appointment. They were just reducing everything. So it was 1 parent with 1 kid or 2. every appointment, doctor's appointment that people had at that time, so that they actually asked both parents to be there and to do like a special permit for the second one to be there.
Yeah,
It
within a
was
7-hour delay.
exactly, so it was kind of,
Yeah, it was alarming, but
yeah,
we never expected the Duchenne condition for our son. We
didn't
know that
about
the
it.
heels were a bit not crooked, but there was an angle in the heel because I was doing karate with him, and probably it was like malformation or something. But from going from malformation to Duchenne, we're gonna let him be what he wants to be. Because I had expectation before of doing this and that with Matteo, but he's not me. He's his own person. He has his own will, his own mind, his own creative ideas and everything. And he's so good with video games. So we're trying to push him, to do coding. So we're just hoping that he knows more how to read and everything. But if you want to play with that Mario Bros, it's unbelievable. He kind of finished the game, the Mario Wonder.
He gets all the games so fast, and he pushes it and finishes it very, very fast. So
so
it's something that he likes. So if we can support, like his path, or like his interest to that.
Yeah, his passion.
Exactly.
Because he's passionate within drawing and video games, for, like most of the kids, but he has a
talent,
a real talent with it.
We're very grateful for the Maldonado family and Matteo. It's always so wonderful for all of us, not just at times like this, but obviously throughout the year, to be connected to our families and to hear their stories. It does inspire us, all of us, I know, to continue the fight. So we thank them. So with that, let's get started in hearing some of our 2023 highlights. I'll provide a bit of an update, and then we'll hear from our team who were here carrying out some of the activities last year. So because I started in my role as CEO in the middle of October of 2023, I can take very little credit for the impactful work that was completed last year. So that is the reason that I'm going to be leaving it to my outstanding team to share just a few of the key accomplishments and highlights from 2023. I can, however, say that 2023 was a significant year of transition for Defeat Duchenne Canada, as my predecessor, Perry Esser, who many of you knew, left to pursue new challenges at the end of May. And Defeat Duchenne Canada's Vice President for Research and Advocacy, Nicola Worsveld, departed earlier on in 2023. So, Perry and Nicola were both outstanding contributors to our organization. They held large and important portfolios. So I'm very pleased, first of all, to share that Nicola has continued to support our organization. She's recently been helping us with some key projects on a part-time basis, and her passion, expertise, and collaborative spirit continue to be valued, as she was certainly missed for the better part of last year. But in light of those significant voids left behind by those key players, I was really astonished when I arrived to see just how much the small team that had remained had been able to accomplish, not only within their own portfolios, but overall by pulling together as a team, working in collaboration with our board volunteers and community volunteers. Together, they were able to ensure that Defeat Duchenne Canada's most critical 2023 objectives were executed with a high degree of excellence. So for that reason, I really want to acknowledge that small team, which included Rochelle Penhalf, Allison Boyce, Kate Foster. Some of these are people are here, so we can have a wave. Rick Moss and Allison Davidson. Great work. Thank you so much for everything you did, your outstanding contributions. Their dedication and commitment to Defeat Duchenne Canada's mission and families was demonstrated in a very big way last year and has never diminished since, despite the challenges they faced. So before we move on, and while we're on the topic of team, it's my great pleasure to announce the following new staff members have joined Defeat Duchenne Canada since January. I want to extend a warm welcome to Bobby Vasher. Bobby joined us as the Manager of Marketing and Communications back in January, and she is very aptly filling Rochelle Tenhalf's shoes while Rochelle is on maternity leave. We also had Rafaela Fernandez join us on the 1st of May. Thank you, Rafaela, for your contributions you've made already. And last but not least, we have Judy Wiles, whose first day is actually today. Judy is taking on the role of Director Research and Advocacy, and we are thrilled to have each of you as part of our team. For those of you in the room, maybe Judy can just give a little wave. So now finally, it really is my pleasure to pass the mic over to members of our capable team, Rick Moss, Kate Foster, Allison Boyce, and Bobby Vasher, along with Dale Cheeseman, who is our, as I mentioned, a board member and chair of our investment committee, and Katie Denbach from KPMG, who will share highlights from their respective areas of business. So Rick, I'm going to hand it over to you to kick things off.
Thanks, Lisa. I am Rick Moss, the National Director of Strategic Partnerships, because it says so right here, for Defeat Duchenne Canada. My pleasure to be here this evening. Defeat Duchenne Canada continues to be the country's leading funder of muscular dystrophy funded research. We granted over $880,000 towards 5 promising research projects in 2023. That made the total awarded in our 29-year history almost $18 million. 2023's 5 funded projects joined 6 other research ventures that are in years 2 and 3 of their funding. And we're already into the granting process for this year and are determining we will be asking to submit full applications for funding. The RFAC and DFAC, 2 critical parts of this whole process, are very excited about the caliber of the applications that we have received. On the advocacy front, it's been a busy year. Defeat Duchenne Canada was instrumental in persuading several pharmaceutical companies to look at Canada for clinical trials for Duchenne. PepGen, a US-based pharmaceutical company, is currently running trials only in Canada at 4 locations, including CHEO, Sick Kids in Quebec City and in Fredericton, New Brunswick. The trial is enrolling ambulant and non-ambulant males with DMD ages 4 to 16 and those who are amenable to exon 51 skipping. Other pharmas we've worked with and have had success with in bringing trials to Canada, with lots of help, I might add, are Atel Pharmaco, Solid Biosciences, Sarepta, and Dyne Therapeutics. Bonnie's here this evening from LHSC, and without Craig's team, as she well knows, and others, we would not have had the success we did in 2023 on the clinical trial front. We continue building relationships with pharma and with like-minded patient organizations, as well as national organizations like CORD. We remain committed to being a loud and influential voice toward efforts for access to treatments that are approved elsewhere. These efforts include encouraging and working with pharma to explore options for applications to Health Canada, including Catalyst and their product vamorolone, and Atel Pharmaco and their product gavinostat. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Kate Foster, who is in her new role as Coordinator of Engagement and Support. Kate?
Hi, everyone. So you usually know me as the person that's always emailing everyone, but now I get to pass that beautiful duty on to Rafaela. So I've now taken on a new role of community engagement and whatnot. So I'm talking about the Family Forum last year. So last year's Family Forum took place in Ottawa, where we partnered with CHEO, which is the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. It was a successful weekend with 116 participants, 56 being in person and 60 being online throughout the weekend. Last year, we added new breakout sessions. That was kind of the new thing we tried out for our in-person attendees. And these breakout sessions allowed families to deep dive into topics without the formal presentations. It was successful, families loved it, and they really encouraged that we try to look at that again this year. So this year's Family Forum is taking place in Ottawa once again. We're partnering up with CHIO again because they were very excited to partner with us again. And yeah, we're bringing kind of more of that discussion and breakout sessions kind of way of doing it this year. So we're pretty excited about that. And then I've also taken over the Canadians Talk Duchenne, which is our social program that happens the last Wednesday of every month. So we've continued hosting this. It's a virtual family social that is partnered with Duchenne Canadian Connection, and that's Amy Cavalier and her family. Amy is a co-host with that. We have seen a decrease in attendees this past year. We think now that, you know, COVID's done and over with, people don't really find as much joy jumping onto a Zoom call, but we tried to shake it up a bit this year. We've tried some fun family game nights where we played Family Feud and all that fun. And we've had some guest speakers come in, which has brought in some people to join. So we're going to continue looking into how we can kind of spice that up and make people want to join it. But yeah, now I have the pleasure of passing it off to Allison Boyce, and she's going to update us on philanthropy.
Thank you. Well, hi everyone in the room and online. If we haven't met yet, I am Allison Boyce, the National Director of Philanthropy and all things fundraising here at Defeat Duchenne Canada. And I'm going to review some of our revenue streams that help make the work that you're hearing about tonight possible. So, as many of the people in this room know, I see a lot of participants. The Walk to Defeat Duchenne continues to be our single largest fundraiser, and it's the largest event of its kind in Canada. So every step we take through the walk and every dollar raised allows us to continue to invest in each of our strategic pillars that you'll hear about this evening. It's also often the first touch point that we have with recently diagnosed families, which is why the walk is so important. It's often, you know, the first way that they find us, families that are, you know, hoping to make some sort of change. In 2023, we saw 442 participants help to raise over $202,000. And I'm happy to report, since we're now in June and we've already had our 2024 walk, that we've actually raised over $226,000 this year. So about a 12% increase year over year in revenue. And the walk kind of continues to grow year over year. Another really important revenue stream is our community and family events. This is kind of comprised of events run by members of the community, as well as our Duchenne families, moms, dads, aunts, and uncles. So we have golf tournaments, marathons, swims, plane pulls, and even motorcycle rides. So some of the unique and creative fundraisers being run by our Duchenne families. As events in general kind of took a hit over COVID, we've been rebuilding this revenue stream and making sure members of our community feel inspired to fundraise and run their own events. In 2023, family events and community events combined raised nearly $100,000, so makes up about 10% of our overall revenue portfolio. And of course, we have many other tax advantageous avenues of giving outside events. Some models in the room here. So some of our kind of areas of focus for the coming year include major gifts, legacy and planned giving, so having donors leave gifts in their will or naming us the beneficiary of a life insurance policy. We have gifts of stocks and securities, gifts from corporations, or a company matching gift is always a huge kind of avenue that we're looking to pursue. And then, of course, one-time and monthly gifts. So we hope to kind of overall help our donors feel informed and make the giving process easy and enjoyable, because all of our donors are truly making such a big difference in the lives of people affected by Duchenne every day, and we would not be able to do any of the work that we do without any of them. So thank you. And I'm now going to pass the mic over to Bobby to share some marketing and engagement highlights.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Bobby Vasher. It's nice to see some of you in person instead of just through Zoom. It's been an absolute joy to be able to fill in for Rochelle for the last little while and for the remainder of the year. I'm just going to run through some of the notable moments in 2023, again, similar to all, none of which I can take credit for at all. So this is Rochelle's successes, and overall the marketing and communications efforts in 2023 were a success, with positive trends in website engagement, with increases in users, time spent on site, and organic search traffic. As well, there were positive trends in social media interaction, with increases in followers and engagement rate. And those are the 4 main ones that we're on now. We are not currently on TikTok, but maybe Lisa is ready to dance. I'm not sure. We'll find out. We can see what we can do for TikTok. And sometimes on YouTube too. The big ones. Although there are some areas that we notice that require some strategic improvements, particularly with email subscriptions and YouTube viewership, the 2023 marketing communications approach yielded positive results. And as an update for our 2024 plan, we are currently in the process of investigating our e-communications and updating those newsletter tools as well. But all of this is being done to strengthen the connection between Defeat Duchenne Canada and our Duchenne families, increase awareness about Duchenne muscular dystrophy and the challenges faced by those affected, to ensure easier access to timely and relevant information. So I do just have a little fun for you to show some of the top social posts of 2023 across our 4 big ones. The first one being Instagram. Notifying the public about lighting up the monuments for Duchenne Awareness Month. This was the most popular there. Next is Facebook, and this was a post welcoming Lisa as the new CEO. For Twitter, it was a news update that we shared with the community from Satellos. And on LinkedIn, it was a post-walk celebratory post. So it's kind of an interesting little tidbit. But overall, we appreciate the continued support and commitment from our community, and look forward to achieving an even greater impact together in the upcoming year. Remember, whenever you can, to like, share, and comment on all of our things. And also just a note that I have been taking photos throughout the night. If any of you do not want your photos online, just come up to me and let me know, and I'll be sure to remove those. But that is it from me, and I'd like to pass it off to Dale Cheeseman for the investment fee. Oh, online.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I seem to be having issues with my camera all of a sudden, but can anybody hear me?
Yep. Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Bobby. And like I said, good evening, everybody. Great to see everybody again on the cameras there. And for everybody there in London, I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person this year. I had to change my plans last minute, but hopefully I get a chance to catch up with all of you again as soon as I can. For this year's investment update, I thought I would highlight a key milestone for the organization. This year, our life-to-date research grants will surpass the entire initial fund amount of $10.1 million when the fund was established back in 2013. That's obviously an amazing achievement for Defeat Duchenne Canada, and certainly something we can all be extremely proud of. Fortunately, the investment fund has performed very well over the years, averaging 8.35% in annualized returns since inception. With the exception of 2022, we've enjoyed a positive return every year since the fund was established. As a result, despite having granted the entire initial fund amount to research, the current market value of the portfolio is actually greater than where we started, currently sitting at around $11.8 million. As we approach the midpoint of this year, we are once again in positive territory, albeit at a modest 3% on a year-to-date basis. But that's actually a decent return for a balanced fund in this market environment. Bond markets are once again depressing total portfolio returns, as long-term interest rates have remained stubbornly high. That's because central banks have not been cutting their short-term interest rates as quickly as the market had anticipated coming into this year. On the bright side, the European Central Bank, as an example, is expected to announce their first rate cut as early as this week. The Bank of Canada is expected to do a modest cut mid-summer, and the US Central Bank is expected to start cutting rates before the end of this year. Hopefully, these events will finally spark a sustainable rally in the bond markets. Despite the ongoing volatility in bonds, the stock market continues to perform well, and in fact is pushing into new all-time highs here in North American markets, brushing off the seemingly endless amount of geopolitical risk prevalent around the world. The tech sector, as you probably have noticed, has been receiving most of the credit for the strong performance in stocks, but there's also been strong gains in commodities, materials, and industrial companies due to above-average economic strength continuing to drive demand in those sectors. All these competing factors make the decision-making process for central banks uncertain, taking it back to them again, which can create volatility in stock markets in addition to the bond market. However, all factors considered, the analyst community largely expects both stocks and bonds to finish the year higher than where we are now, even if modestly so. Good news for a diversified portfolio like ours. Now, taking a step back from the fund, the path forward continues to look bright for our potential to grant funds to research. Not because we're relying on the market to help us out, but because the organization itself is getting larger, more sophisticated, of course, and our fundraising efforts continue to deliver stronger results every year. Our footprint keeps expanding, and we are now, of course, a truly national organization. So to summarize, the fund does continue to do well, and aside from the fund, in terms of our financial performance, there's plenty to be excited about on a go-forward basis. As you've already been hearing about today from Rick, Kate, Allison, and Bobby, and we'll hear more about soon from Lisa in a little bit, our strategic efforts will all but ensure that the foundation can continue to deliver on our key mission of funding research initiatives to help pave the path to a cure. And of course, provide direct support to our boys and their families along the way. Okay, that's it from me. Thanks again, everybody, and I appreciate your time. I'm now going to pass it over to Katie Denbach from KPMG, who's going to speak to our audited financial statements. Katie, over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. I know audit isn't the most exciting topic, so I will keep this brief, but it is critically important to help give comfort to your donors that the financial information that you're providing them has been looked at. So it's my pleasure to be here tonight representing KPMG in my capacity as the external auditor for Defeat Duchenne Canada, legally the Jesse Davidson Foundation, which is what you'll see on the actual financial statements. At this point, KPMG has completed the audit of the financial statements for the foundation as at and for the year ending December 31st, 2023, and has provided an audit findings report and draft auditor's report to the executive committee and the board. Our auditor's report remains in draft, simply pending the approval of the financial statements by the board, which has happened, my understanding, just prior to this AGM. So now that the board has approved the financial statements, we will issue our final auditor's report. And I'll just read you sort of the opinion paragraph of our auditor's report, which is similar to what has been issued in the past. In common with many charitable organizations, the foundation derives its revenue from donations, the completeness of which is not susceptible to satisfactory audit verification. Accordingly, verification of the revenues in the financial statements is limited to the amounts recorded in the records of the entity. So that's just the qualification piece of the auditor's report that is in there every year, just simply due to the fact that there's cash received and it's not possible to audit the completeness of cash. But other than that, we have audited the financial statements, which comprise the statement of financial position, the statement of operations and changes in fund balances for the year then ended, the statement of cash flows, and the notes to the financial statements, which include a summary of significant accounting policies. And in our opinion, except for the possible effects of the matter I just described, the financial statements present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the foundation as at December 31st, 2023, and its results of operations, its changes in fund balances, and its cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with Canadian accounting standards for not-for-profit organizations. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Thank you, Dale. And thank you so much, Katie, for taking the time to be with us tonight. We really appreciated you delivering your report first. So now let's talk about the way forward. Let's talk about what's next. One of my first orders of business when I started in my role as CEO was to finalize our next strategic plan. I already shared a bit with you about how much our small team was able to accomplish in 2023. What I hadn't mentioned was that the 2024 to 2028 strategic plan was one of the key priorities that they started working on early in the year with Perry Essler, my predecessor, the former CEO, and they continued contributing to throughout 2023, even after his departure. They leaned heavily on the input that was gathered from many of you, our families, our volunteers, key partners, through input that was gathered through the strategic survey that was conducted in 2023. Defeat Duchenne Canada, as I've come to learn, has a long history of engaging with our families and gathering input from our stakeholders. And in 2023, this was really taken to a whole new level through this strategic survey. And I was really thrilled to see that this important engagement step had been taken to inform the strategic plan. Throughout the first quarter of 2024, I worked with the staff and the board of directors and gathered valuable input from our advocacy volunteers, our research funding advisory and Duchenne family funding advisory committees to fine-tune our goals and objectives, tactics, and success measures. So this, abridged version of our strategic plan has been distributed to those who are here with us in person tonight, but not to worry if you are not able to join us in person, because our strategic plan is available on our website effective tomorrow. So please visit our website to see the full version of this plan. So before we launch into the plan, I just think it's important to state that my feeling is that no plan should be carved in stone. The world, as we all know, is rapidly evolving, and so too is the Duchenne muscular dystrophy landscape. So as the ground shifts below our feet, I think that Defeat Duchenne Canada must remain nimble to ensure that we're always leading the charge in serving our families and funding the most innovative research and advocating for the things that will make the biggest difference, and also providing high quality education and support along the way. So while our comparatively small organization may not allow us to do everything we want to do all at once, it does afford us greater flexibility to address critical emerging needs when necessary. So with that in mind, it's now my pleasure to share highlights from our next strategic plan. So our vision remains a future without Duchenne. That means we remain dedicated to ending Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Our overarching goal is to provide leadership in research, advocacy, and support to ensure every Canadian affected by Duchenne muscular dystrophy can live a long and active life. We remain focused on 4 strategic pillars: research, advocacy, education and support, and community engagement. I will note at this time that the results of that strategic survey showed that our families continue to understand the value and importance of research, but also increasingly understand the role that Defeat Duchenne Canada can play in advocacy. As this is a relatively newer area for Defeat Duchenne Canada, you will see that we intend to increase our focus and impact in this key pillar over the next few years. For each pillar, we've set an overarching goal, objectives, and tactics to enable us to achieve our targets. You will notice that regardless of the strategic pillar, each goal is focused on improving outcomes. So let's start with research. Our overarching goal is to solidify Defeat Duchenne Canada's position as an international leader in funding innovative research and improving outcomes for all Canadians diagnosed with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. A few notable elements of our research strategy include creating an innovation fund to enable us to push hard for significant breakthroughs. We also plan to begin approaching government to increase their investment in Duchenne muscular dystrophy research. And we will continue to support the next generation of Duchenne muscular dystrophy investigators. And in doing so, be recognized as a world leader in funding pioneering, transformative research discoveries. In advocacy, our overarching goal is to secure robust federal and provincial support that will enable us to drive significant advancements in treatment and care through legislation and regulatory initiatives. This speaks to the great challenge of access that we've touched on, and this is an area we will tackle wholeheartedly. Our work in advocacy will include ensuring the necessary infrastructure is in place to strengthen our voice, serve as a leader and key contributor in the completion of a patient standards of care manuscript. And this is one of those projects that Nicola Worsfeld is helping us to push through to the finish line, and we value her leadership on that. We want to ensure that anyone living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy is able to access an appropriate and high level of care, regardless of where they live in Canada. We'll also launch our comprehensive Time is Muscle campaign to not only shine a bright light on the significant challenges faced by Canadians living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy, but also to apply pressure on government and industry partners to work with us in building solutions to ensure Duchenne muscular dystrophy patients in Canada can access safe and effective treatments that are currently available in many other jurisdictions around the world. This is going to involve engaging a number of key stakeholders, including our Duchenne families, patients, clinicians, decision makers, policy makers, et cetera, and anyone who's willing to join forces with us to make this happen. In education and support, we'll deliver comprehensive education and unwavering support to individuals living with Duchenne, their families, and healthcare professionals, with the ultimate aim of ensuring consistent and optimal standardized care. To do so, we're going to work to develop a comprehensive toolkit for those who have been newly diagnosed. We're going to increase the reach and impact across all of our programs and resources, and develop a peer support program for families, parents, teens, and adults living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy. In order to ensure more families have the opportunity to connect with Defeat Duchenne Canada and each other, and to learn from world-renowned investigators, clinicians, and other experts in Duchenne muscular dystrophy, we will explore the feasibility of running 3 to 4 one-day workshops for families in a variety of provinces across Canada each year. So think of them as sort of mini family forums that take the information to the families as frequently as possible. Duchenne families have always been, for engagement, yeah. Duchenne families have always been and will continue to be the reason for us all to be here. They're the driving force behind everything we do. For that reason, we'll strive to cultivate a strong and inclusive family of families that's dedicated to raising both awareness and crucial funds for research, advocacy, education, and support. Under this important strategic pillar, Defeat Duchenne Canada will strive to be a strong partner to our families who've been faced with a diagnosis of Duchenne from day one through their entire journey. We know that every journey is unique and that each family may have different needs or wish to engage with Defeat Duchenne Canada in different ways. Our goal is to ensure there are clear pathways in place to strengthen that connection. We also understand that without skilled and dedicated volunteers, sorry for those online, we had a bit of a just minor technical glitch. We'll get back to it. You haven't missed anything. Okay. We also understand that without our skilled and dedicated volunteers working in partnership with us, we wouldn't be able to deliver on our mission or achieve any of the priorities that we've outlined in this plan. We want to ensure that prospective volunteers know how they can help and are well supported and appropriately recognized for their impactful contributions. We aim to strengthen connections with our families and to be a connector for them to other Duchenne families and a wide range of services and support, whether those services and support programs are delivered directly by Defeat Duchenne Canada or other community organizations that are offering relevant and specialized programs. So now, underpinning, and I know this slide's a little tricky to read, but it's an important one because underpinning every single strategic pillar, overarching goal, objective, and tactic are our enabling strategies. These are critical elements that provide a strong foundation. They are the things that without which none of what I've presented this evening would be possible. So these include fund development, which relies on all of you, our donors, fundraisers, and sponsors. Without increasing our financial base, our ability to make an impact will be limited or at least take longer to achieve, which, as we all know, is not a viable option for those living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy today. Another key enabler is our collaborators. This too includes many of you and others. It's a broad group that includes our donors, our Duchenne families, our industry partners, other like-minded organizations who are working in the DMD and or rare disease space here in Canada and internationally. It also includes our researchers and our clinicians and anyone who's willing to join forces with Defeat Duchenne Canada to increase our capacity to deliver on our strategic objectives and to make a significant impact for those living with Duchenne muscular dystrophy now. So last but by no means least, our volunteers. By donating their time and their unique talents, our volunteers have made a monumental difference in enabling our relatively small organization to achieve impactful outcomes. Without our volunteers, we would not be where we are today, for certain, and we would have no way to accomplish our objective, our ambitious goals for the future. So I want to extend a really special thank you to all of you, everyone who continues to support Defeat Duchenne Canada. Everything you do, big or small, strengthens our foundation, which builds capacity that in turn enables us to accomplish far more than we could ever do without you. So thank you so much for your continued support. As I mentioned, if you want to learn more about our strategic plan, because I know you may have questions, and we aren't able to answer them tonight, reach out to info@Defeat Duchenne for sure, and also visit our website to see the strategic plan online. So now I'd just like to take a moment to acknowledge two of our Defeat Duchenne Canada team members who'll be retiring at the end of this month. First, and I believe he needs no introduction whatsoever, is Rick Moss, who's hiding at the back of the room. I'm not sure where one even begins to thank Rick for his 20+ years of unwavering support, hard work, dedication to those affected by Duchenne muscular dystrophy. When his colleague and friend, John Davidson, who was building a charity to raise funds for Duchenne muscular dystrophy after his son, Jesse, was diagnosed, Rick dropped everything. Everything he was doing, and he's never looked back, basically, is what happened. He has contributed in really too many ways to list tonight, but to suffice it to say that he's not only supported every strategic pillar, he helped to lay the foundation, and he built the structure. So he's always been determined to make a difference, even if that meant learning as he went along. He was never afraid to ask anyone for donations, sponsorships. He was always willing to open dialogue with industry partners, researchers, clinicians. He talks to families, and he's just overall, I think, been an inspiration to everyone who's had the pleasure to know him and work with him or learn from him. Rick and I've had less than 8 months to work together. And I can tell you, I would not still be standing here in this position if it were not for Rick. His support, kindness, patience, and partnership have made all the difference. So thank you on behalf of everyone here and many others across Canada and internationally for your outstanding contributions, Rick. We know that you won't disappear altogether because, you know, we had you sign that special contract. And as I mentioned, I've already kind of wrangled Rick in a little bit, saying, you know, the 30th anniversary is next year, and you bring such great commitment, and you know the history, and you know all the great stakeholders who we should engage, and wouldn't it be great? And he smiles and nods like he's doing right now. And but don't worry, he's not going anywhere. Next is Allison Davidson. Oh, is she online, Allison? We're sorry that you can't be with us tonight, but Allison actually works remotely from Halifax, Nova Scotia. And she was in Ontario last week. So many of us had the opportunity to spend some time with Allison, but she's moved on, not from Defeat Duchenne Canada, but moved on in her travels in Ontario. Allison joined our organization on a part-time basis a couple of years ago in the critical role of database administrator. Allison is an expert in Razor's Edge, and that's a sophisticated software program that we use to track and manage our donations, stay in touch and recognize our donors, run reports to measure our progress and success, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Allison performs this very important role with such skill. She demonstrates, again, great patience with others who are maybe less technically inclined. And she's done, I think, a wonderful job of helping to bring Rafaela Hernandez up to speed, because that will become part of Rafaela's role when Allison leaves. Allison just delivers such high quality work. She is just a pleasure to be around. She's a wonderful human being. Those of you who attended the Family Forum maybe over the last couple of years might remember meeting Allison and receiving a warm greeting from her when you visited the registration table. which again, just speaks to her commitment to our organization. So overall, she's just been a tremendous asset to Defeat Duchenne Canada. So thank you, Allison, again. And we do really wish you all the best as you start the next chapter in your life, which is not until after June. So tonight, we've acknowledged our board of directors, our community volunteers and staff. We've talked about what we've accomplished over the last year and what we look forward to accomplishing in the next 4 to 5. But before we close, I think it's really important to acknowledge that none of these past accomplishments or the accomplishments to come would be possible without John and Shireen Davidson, who launched Jesse's Journey in 1995 and have continued to be incredible supporters. We're honored to be part of the journey. John and I have talked about the fact that we've rebranded to Defeat Duchenne Canada, but this is just part of the evolution of Jesse's journey in the long run. And we continue to be committed to seeing it through, John and Shireen. And we value your ongoing support and encouragement and knowledge very much. So thank you. So on behalf of the board, the staff, I want to thank everybody who's joined us again in person, everyone who joined us online. Thank you so much for attending our AGM. If you don't already, just before we go, I would encourage you to subscribe to our monthly e-newsletter by going to defeatduchenne.ca. You'll receive the latest organizational updates, family stories, and ways to make a difference right into your inbox. And as Bobby mentioned, please remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube at Defeat Duchenne. And don't forget to like and share. And finally, please join us at our family forum taking place this year in September, the 21st and 22nd of September in Ottawa. We did move it up a bit this year because World Duchenne Awareness Day is September the 7th, and here in Canada, Duchenne Awareness Month is September. So we thought that would give us a little extra boost and ability to get a little extra momentum going and do our good work at that time. So please do join us if you can. Again, being presented in partnership with the Children's Hospital of Eastern Ontario. Oh! So this is, this is what happens when you're creating speaking notes and slides and you have about 1,000 people looking at them. But it's been brought to my attention that quite inadvertently, we forgot Bonnie Wooten on our list of board of directors on our slides, not in our hearts or in our minds. And Bonnie's actually here tonight. So I apologize for that, Bonnie, as she's a very important and a newer member of our team. So, we're very grateful for your support and apologize for that oversight. So thank you all very much again. We really do look forward to working with you throughout the remainder of 2024 and then coming back to celebrate our collective accomplishments next June. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.